I think it's my camera. All right, goddesses. For some reason, it's not connecting to my other camera. So I think that's a technical difficulty. So I'll just chat. I just sent out a new email link. So those who are watching the recording, please bear with me because there was definitely a technical difficulty with my little camera, which I think caused the delay. All right, so I'm just going to be talking as I'm waiting for people to join. I just sent out a new email, so hopefully folks will get it. And those, hello, Goddess Kamaria. All right, great. So sorry for the folks that was on last time. My camera, for some reason, wasn't working, which caused a delay. So now I'm on my laptop camera. So I'll just be chatting, and as I sent out a new email and wait for folks to join in, and then hopefully that email should have gone out to everyone. Let me see if it actually went out. Oh my goodness, it's being set. I swear, Mercury's in retrograde and it's causing all types of problems. I think the email's still being sent, but okay. Um, I'm gonna just start talking for the goddess that is here, and then all the other folks will be able to get the replay. All right, so our topic is activate goddess level abundance, and we want to break this down. First of all, I'm excited because next week I will be having the second dose of my 2-day activation. Pussy is abundance. So I'll talk more about that toward the end of our talk today. But I want to break down what is goddess level abundance. All right, so I see people starting to come and join. So again, sorry for technical difficulties. I'm going to blame everything on Mercury retrograde because my camera was not working. But hopefully, goddesses got the email and can join it live. All right, so we're going to talk about how to activate goddess level abundance. And this is a very important topic because of everything, especially that is happening in the world right now. We know our government was shut down. It was the longest shutdown in US history. Millions of government workers were impacted and affected. Since the new administration has been elected into office, Black women have actually been the most affected. We have lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs because of changes with DEI and other things like that. So now more than ever, we as women of color, as Black women, we really need to activate our abundance because we cannot depend upon the government, clearly. We can't depend upon the powers that be to be the one to provide for us, okay? We have to tap into the spirit of our ancestors who learned how to thrive, not only survive, but our ancestors learned how to thrive no matter what, right? No matter the conditions that were happening. And of course, we shouldn't have to deal with this injustice, but it is what it is. We have to tap into our own internal power to be able to call down the abundance that is our birthright. So when we're talking about activating goddess level abundance, there are 3 things that I'm going to be talking about. First thing I'm going to be talking about, first thing that we need to know, we need to understand what abundance is. Okay, what is abundance? A lot of times we connect abundance to material items. We may think that abundance is tied to a certain number in the bank account. And yes, we should enjoy luxury, right? Yes, we should, have more than enough money in our bank account. But all those things are a mirror. They are not true abundance. They are a reflection of abundance as a law of the universe, as a state of being. So, this is my definition of abundance, and it's very simple. Abundance is God, right? Abundance is Mother, Father, God. Abundance especially is goddess. Abundance is especially the divine feminine. When you look at ancient cultures around the world, when they talk about abundance and they talk about deities who represent abundance, most of the time they are female, right? You have goddesses like the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. She is a goddess of abundance. You have goddesses like Oshun. Olokun. These are water divinities and deities. Orisha Ajay, who is also an abundance deity. Okay. So when we look at these examples, we can see that makes sense. Yes, Goddess Kamari. Yes, talk to me in the chat, y'all. I just get into the teaching. The little technical difficulty threw me off a little bit, but talk to me in the chat, okay? We want to activate this goddess level abundance. But the ancients understood that the ability to multiply is feminine. Okay. When we look at a woman's body, what happens, and I've talked about this week after week, but it's so important to the feminine principle. When we become impregnated with the seed, right, from a man, what happens? We're able to grow that seed. We're able to multiply it, and it transforms into a baby, to miraculous life. So, this is why the ancients and indigenous cultures around the world understood the connection between the divine feminine and abundance. It is our nature to be abundant. And this is why, when it comes to abundance, you have divine feminine deities like Lakshmi, like Oshun, that are connected with abundance. Hello, Goddess Phoenix Rising, great, grand, rich rising. I like royal rising. Yes. And I like the rich, right? Rich and royal rising to everybody. So there's a quote from the book. It's called The Abundance Book. It's this little green book. It's very old, but it has different affirmations for abundance. And different times throughout the year, I'll work with these affirmations. I'll share one affirmation with you all. And it says, I'm going to replace God with goddess, but we understand there's one universal energy, right? Um, Goddess is lavish. And I just love that word lavish because when I was working with this affirmation and I looked up what lavish means sumptuously rich. Okay. And I just love that definition for lavish. It means sumptuously rich. Okay. So just wanted to pause there. Goddess is lavish or sumptuously rich, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. The spirit of infinite abundance is the truth of who I am. So once we understand, finally made it to live. Hey, Goddess Katrina. Yes, welcome. So once we understand that abundance is God, abundance is goddess, and we as daughters of the goddess, right? We as divine, feminine embodiment of goddess energy in human form, we understand that abundance is also our nature. All right. It is our nature to be abundant. So when the powers that be try to create scarcity, when they try to withhold resources, when they try to make people feel less than perhaps for not having certain material items, it is them trying to separate us from our divine nature, from our divine inheritance, because to be divine is to be abundant. To be God, goddess, is to be abundant because goddess is abundance. It is the nature of the divine feminine energy to multiply. Okay. So we have to understand what abundance is. Hello, goddesses. So happy to be here. Hello, Slime Banana. I like that name. Welcome, welcome. So we have to understand what abundance actually is. So number two, to activate the number two thing we need to do to activate goddess level abundance is we need to remove blockages to abundance. Okay, to remove blockages to abundance. So there is a law of physics that says two objects cannot occupy the same place at the same time. I think it's a law of physics, y'all. I could be wrong. I was not a science major, but that sounds about right. Y'all can let me know in the chat. Good morning. Hey, Goddess Chloe. Good morning. Good morning. And sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm happy that you all got the new link. So there is a law that states two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time, a law of physics. So, when we have blockages to abundance, it makes it very hard for abundance to flow to us. So, I want you to imagine a pipe. Okay. Now, there's a pipe where water is supposed to pour through. And what happens is that this pipe, the water representing abundance, becomes blocked. It becomes things get lodged into this pipe. It could be hair, it could be debris, it could be a big old log, whatever it is. But there's abundance on the other side of that blockage, but we can't get to it because that blockage has to be removed. And that blockage can come from many places. That blockage could come from the messages of scarcity, right, that exists in our world right now. When the scarcity is an illusion, there is no scarcity, there is no lack. Okay, the earth has more than enough to take care of everyone, but it's the few who are hoarding that try to keep it from the many because they live in scarcity and lack. Anyway, so when we have this blockage, it makes it very hard for abundance to flow. So, what are some of the things that block our abundance? Trauma is one big thing that blocks our abundance and for most people of color, that is very common. A lot of us grew up with scarcity and lack. A lot of our parents were very deep in scarcity and lack because of these conditions that were created, in the country, and, racism and things like that. So when we have particularly traumatic experiences of growing up, of not having enough, of being made to feel bad when you ask for something. Let me give y'all an example. All of us probably heard this, right? You pulling up with your mama, y'all about to go into the supermarket. What would she say? Somebody let me know in the chat. What would she say? Oh, Lola, no more slime banana. It's my daughter. It was my daughter's. That's hilarious. So what would y'all mama say before y'all rolled up into the supermarket? When we get in here, don't what? Don't ask me for nothing. Okay. Yeah, don't you act up in here. That definitely be also don't touch nothing and don't ask for nothing. Okay. Don't ask. So when we grow up with that messaging, yeah, don't ask for nothing. When we grow up with that messaging, we also don't ask. All right. We get used to not asking, but also not expecting and expecting less than, right? Don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing, and act right. Okay. Phoenix Rising. I ain't buying no junk. Okay. Yes. So when we grow up with that, with messages like that, we get very used to not asking, especially as Black women. We are expected to accept less. We are expected to not even ask, right? Just like our mamas told us back in the day, don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing. So that is a blockage. That is a blockage to abundance because we don't even feel worthy of the ask. Because also we don't even know what's possible. If we haven't seen other people in our environment get it or receive it, we don't have a vision of what's possible. So that becomes a major blockage to abundance, different traumas that we have experienced. I can go deeper, more into that, and we will go deeper into that. I will be having a 2-day abundance activation next week. It's called Pussy is Abundance. I call this live activate goddess level abundance. I wanted to say Pussy is Abundance, but I was like, I don't know if YouTube is going to let me say that. I don't know. I don't want to get blocked. But um, if you type abundance, you will get a link to sign up for that masterclass, that 2-day goddess activation. It's only $27. However, if you join my course, Pussy Code is included. Okay. So if you want to join Pussy Code, just say Pussy Code. I'm sorry, just type code in the chat and you will get the link and you will automatically get enrolled to Pussy Abundance. Or if the coins is short right now, understand this type of abundance and you will be able to join the 2-day activation next week. Pussy is Abundance. Okay. How barbaric? Stop spam. Oh, what is happening? Okay, I'm sorry. My not bot is tripping. I'll deal with that. Phoenix, don't worry about that. Code. Type in code. If you want the information for the course of Pissy Code and Abundance, if you want to just get the 2-day wealth activation. Okay. So the third thing that we need to understand is we want to activate goddess level abundance, we have to understand our worthiness. Okay. Again, this is something we're not taught, especially as Black women. So I want to talk about the difference between worthiness and deservingness. And this is something that I had to learn. So there's a difference between worthiness and deservingness. So I'll start with deservingness because very often this is where we operate from, particularly as Black women, as women of color. Deservedness is tied to what you do, as opposed to worthiness is tied to who you are. All right, I'm going to say it again. Deservedness is tied to what you do, and worthiness is tied to who you are. Hey, Goddess Tamia, welcome. So, what's the difference? So, when we are moving from a place of deservedness, we are moving from a place of I need to do, I need to earn, I need to struggle. Okay, in order to manifest abundance. So, this is why, particularly as women of color, we can exhaust ourselves. We are taught what? We are taught that we must be smarter and work harder than everyone in order to be accepted, in order to be successful. So, our identity, last week I talked about identifying, the importance of establishing and reclaiming your goddess identity. So, for many of us, our identity becomes attached to our works and what we can do. It becomes attached to our degrees, the letters behind our name, how hard we can work, how much we can break our back, all right, to prove that we are deserving. And that is a lot of that is rooted in being descendants of people who were enslaved and colonized. Because why were our ancestors brought over here? They were brought over here to work very hard, to do exhausting work. And many of us have inherited that identification with labor. So we think that in order to be worthy, we have to labor very hard, we have to struggle very hard. And this is about, attaching our identity to deservedness as opposed to worthiness. Worthiness is inherent. And type in the chat, I am worthy. Okay. If you are feeling this and it doesn't make sense to you, type, I am worthy. Okay. I'm Kamari, right to work and make others' lives easy. Okay. Listen, do I have mine? Okay. We were taught to work, to slave, to break our back, to make other people's lives easier. All right. In my soft woman era, completely, I am worthy. Okay, I am worthy. I am worthy. Worthiness is inherent. We are born with it. No person, no being, no government, no dollar amount on our bank account, no degrees, no relationship status, nothing can change our worthiness. It is inherent in who we are. What did the quote say that I read? It said, Goddess is lavish, unfailing abundance. It is who we are. So if we are abundance, then our worthiness is inherent. There's nothing we need to do to earn it. Okay. Now, of course, we do live in a society where we exchange good and service, services and goods for money and things like that. But we can do it from a place of being replenished and not being exhausted. When we feel like we are working too hard and we are exhausting ourselves to manifest abundance and prosperity, that's not real abundance and prosperity, because real abundance and prosperity should come from alignment and not come from struggle. Okay. But we understand that this is what the powers that be want. They want us to be exhausted. They want us to struggle. They want us to work from a place of deservedness and our worthiness, so they can continue to capitalize off our labor. Okay. So we have to understand that our worthiness is inherent. It is because we are, right. We are worthy, literally because we are breathing. We are worthy. Okay. Even when we stop breathing, when we in the spiritual realm, we still worthy. Okay. We are worthy because we are divine beings. Period. And abundance is an attribute of the divine. And there's so many messages that we receive that are contrary to that. And this is why we have to effectively work daily, weekly, monthly, something. I say daily. We're going to daily to reprogram our mind, to reprogram our consciousness so that we don't forget who we are, so that we understand that we are worthy, that we are goddesses, and that our nature is abundance. Okay. So next week, what is happening? My night bot is tripping. You piece of cake. Stop spamming symbols. Warning. All right. Okay. So the night bot is supposed to be dropping links in the chat. I don't know why it's cussing people out. I'm gonna have to go deal with my night bot. I have no idea what's happening, but don't worry about it. For the people who are the night bot is cussing out. Don't worry about that. I'll figure out the night bot thing. It's to stop spamming symbols. Don't worry about that. Sorry, Goddess Katrina. That's not me. That's an automated response. But anyway, next week I will be having next Wednesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I did this last month on the new moon, so I'm going to be doing it again on the new moon next week, which is next week. The new moon is Thursday. We'll meet Wednesday and Thursday. So day one of Pussy is Abundance, we are going to work on releasing blockages to abundance. And we're going to do that through going into meditation and going into trance, right? And there's a special ritual that I'm going to walk everybody through to release blockages to abundance. And then that same evening, we're going to do a ritual to call on Goddess Lakshmi to help us to activate our abundance. So, Lakshmi is a tantric goddess, right, from the Hindu pantheon, who I mentioned earlier, who is about abundance. And I love the Lakshmi energy. So, that's what we're going to do day one. Day two, we're going to tap into the hoodoo power. Okay. So we're going to do a hoodoo ritual with a pumpkin. I'll give you that little tip. And we're going to also discover herbs that we can use that are in our kitchen, everyday herbs that we can find, in our kitchen cabinet that we can use to call in abundance. Because what our ancestors did, they did ritual, right? They understood that they were worthy. So it's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week, Wednesday and Thursday. If you type abundance in the chat, it will send you the link. Also, if you join my course, Pussy Code, you get a full course. Right now, there are 4 modules that are already uploaded. It's a beautiful course that teaches you how to activate your divine feminine energy. If you enroll into that course, when you enroll, you automatically get the 2-day activation of Pussy Code. You'll automatically be enrolled in that. So if you're interested in the full course, you can type code, and that will send you the link. Nightbot, who is being bad, but if you type code, it'll send you the link. Put the link in the chat for the Pussy Code course, and you'll automatically be enrolled in Pussy is Abundance. But if the Queens is small right now, ain't no shame, no blame, it's all good. Type abundance, and you can just join the 2-day activation. Okay. I want to review everything that we talked about. I thank you, Goddesses, for hanging out with me. And I love these Sunday. I love these Friday, Feminine Frequency Friday activations. I'm just going to go over the 3 things that we talked about, how to activate goddess level abundance. And those who popped in late, definitely watch the replay when I send it out later today. So in order to activate goddess level abundance, number 1, we need to understand what abundance is. Abundance is God. Abundance is goddess. Abundance is the nature of the universe. There's no lack. There's no scarcity. Lack and scarcity are illusions created by the powers that be to keep us locked on the level of lower consciousness. Number 2, we need to actively remove blockages to abundance that are in our subconscious. Okay. These blockages are often implanted in us when we're very young. When we had experiences like we go into the store with our mama and she say, don't go in there and act up, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing. Okay. So we get used to not asking for nothing because since we were a little girl, we were told don't ask for shit because we ain't got no money. Okay. So things like that, we need to release those traumas and those experiences, and also no blame on our parents. They were doing the best they could, but now we are adults and we can ask the universe, right, and expect to receive. Number 3, we need to understand our worthiness. We need to understand that our worthiness is not attached to anything outside of ourselves. It's not attached to the numbers in our bank account, to our degrees, to our relationship status, anything. Our worthiness is inherent. We're born with it because we are divine beings. And we need to operate from worthiness rather than deservedness, which deservedness says, I need to work hard, I need to struggle, I need to prove myself, right? And so many of us do that, especially in relationships, which that would probably be a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But we think we got to work hard, we got to struggle, we got to prove ourselves for peanuts, right? Most of us do all that and we are exhausting ourselves and we're not even still receiving what we truly are worthy of. Okay. So thank you, goddesses, for joining me today for episode 3 of Feminine Frequency Friday, Activate Goddess Level Abundance. And hopefully I will see you all next week in the 2-day activation, Pussy is Abundance. There's a bunch of links in the chat, and sign up and hopefully also see you in Pussy Club. All right. Nightbot is tripping, y'all. I'm gonna go discipline Nightbot. Okay. All right, goddesses. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. Blessings.